It's hard to imagine a space opera without battles between mighty spaceships and entire fleets. But when writing a story, filming a movie, or indeed running an RPG, it can be hard to make space combat thrilling and engaging. It's easy for combat between ships to turn into a simple slugfest. My example RPG for this video is Coriolis, but many of my points will ring true for other sci-fi RPGs as well. Coriolis has solid rules for ship combat, and while the vanilla rules are dangerous enough and keep engagement tight with low ship HP and dangerous critical hits, I think there's room for different kinds of combat and tactics that will make the difference between a boring combat encounter and an epic space battle. In this video, I will go through my inspirations for space battle and then show you an example of combat using my own interpretation of the rules, rulings, and house rules. For the latter, I try to make as little changes as possible to the original system so I can achieve the type of combat I'm looking for, while still maintaining the ability to use existing ships and encounters without having to change everything. For inspiration, one can look at some great battles in movies or series. The Expanse, Enemy Below, The Wrath of Khan, or Battlestar Galactica come to mind. Or we could take a look at the closest real-world counterpart to space combat that these scenes have taken inspiration from: real-world naval combat, especially submarine combat. Submarines fight each other across vast distances in 3 dimensions, relying on sensors to detect each other, firing torpedoes, decoys, and countermeasures, trying to strike without warning whenever possible, and to flee and vanish from enemy sonar when attacked. Surface ship or spaceship combat, indeed, add direct fire weapons, point defense, fighter craft, and the possibility for boarding actions to the mix. So, what combat scenarios and tactics can we use to make our spaceship combat as tense as a Cold War submarine duel? Space combat often assumes a confrontation in empty space. But there's nothing in empty space to fight over. It's more likely that some other objects are within the possible battle space. Big ships, space stations, asteroids, moons, planets. These can be used as features of the battle space, like a moon. It could be a good location for an ambush along a trade route, like an asteroid or a debris field. It could also be the object the battle is fought over, like a bulk hauler or a station set on by pirates, protected by escort fighters. So we don't just place our encounters in empty space, let them take place near a point of interest, and have that be a tactical and story feature. Just like for a submarine, the first tactic should always be to detect your enemy first, and try to avoid detection yourself. Lower your own ship's signature as far as possible. Use passive sensors and hide against objects to stay hidden. But get the best passive sensors and sensor operator you can. So, in general, use stealth and ambushes. Lure your target into traps so you can get a round of attacks in before they can react. Once you are detected, use torpedoes. Shoot as many as you can at once to overwhelm the enemy decoys and defensive fire. If the enemy is still shooting back at you after that, unless you have an overwhelming advantage in firepower, try to break contact, hide, and start over again. If instead of destroying your enemy, you want to board them, try to get as close as possible before they detect you. Again, use passive sensors, hide against objects in an ambush, lure them in with buoys and fake emergency signals. Then hit them hard and fast with weapons that only target systems, as well as meme attacks to get their EP to drop fast. Use aimed shots to take out weapons and engines. That will rob them of the ability to fight back or flee, preparing the target for boarding. Then dock and board them. If you are getting attacked, on the other hand, running away and breaking contact should be your main goal. Use decoys and defensive fire to stay alive. Use objects in the environment whenever possible to break contact. Unless you are on a huge ship like a bull crawler, then you better pray to the icons. Or you are on a heavily armed warship, then it's time to turn on your active sensors and show the enemy your teeth. Let me show you what I mean with an example of play in space combat. Keep in mind that this is just one scenario, and in no way a comprehensive tutorial for every type of space combat. I'll explain the rules and highlight my house rules as I bring them up. You can also find all of them in the Google Docs linked in the video description below. Down there, you'll also find affiliate links and links to my own RPG stuff. Follow them if you see something that interests you and support my creative work. Thank you. Now, let the combat begin. Here's our scenario. The Fatima's bounty was on its way to deliver some medical supplies to a mining colony when they received a distress signal from a nearby debris field left by some space battle, accident, or pirate encounter. Captain Miro decided to check out the distress signal, but he's also nobody's fool. So at the beginning of this scenario, Captain Miro gives the orders to run active sensors. Bring us in, but let us see what is there. Unbeknownst to them, hidden in the debris field is a pirate corsair attack ship. These small ships usually attack in packs of 2 or more, but this is a lone one. These ships aren't big, but they are big enough to take down a freighter and then call for backup from the bigger ships of the fleet to get away with their ill-begotten bounty, or if they are fortunate, they can board the enemy ship and take it over, adding it to their fleet. As the Fatima's bounty approaches, we have to determine when each ship spots the other. The Corsairs immediately spot the Fatima's bounty because, as a good, honest free trader, the Fatima's bounty is running with its transponder on, broadcasting their position, class of ship, name and owner to anyone who is willing to listen. The Corsairs, on the other hand, are not transponding their position, obviously. Furthermore, they're only running passive sensors, so not shining a bright flashlight into the open space, and they're hiding among the debris, lowering their signature considerably. This is one of my house rules. In vanilla Coriolis, you need active sensors to spot anything beyond medium range. But to give a stealthy approach more of a chance, I decided to not make active sensors a requirement. It's just nice to have that bonus to your die pool to be able to detect ships at long range. But if your passive sensors are good enough and the target you're detecting is big and obvious enough, you don't necessarily need active sensor, meaning you don't have to become a bright lighthouse by burning your radar into the dark of space. Now the sensor operator of the Fatima's bounty has 6 dice to roll normally, plus 2 for their active sensors, but at extreme distance it's minus 4. It's a further -2 for hiding among the object, and a further -2 for the -2 signature of the Corsair attack ship. So at extreme range, no chance. At 4 combat units of distance, just a few thousand miles apart. A combat unit is an abstract measurement of distance for space combat. Depending on your terrain, if you are actually still in atmosphere or fighting in an asteroid field or fighting between different planets, combat unit can be anything from several kilometers to several 10,000s of kilometers. Space is really, really huge. That also means that time is a bit relative. At close combat unit distances, a round of combat will last a few minutes. At huge distances, rounds can last hours or even days. When preparing for the scenario, you should have an idea about how large a combat unit is, and more importantly, how long a turn will take. Because that will determine how much time the crew has to strategize between rounds, and also to stew, not really knowing what the enemy is doing until the torpedoes show up on the radar screen. The modifiers change. Let's calculate again. 2 dice to do a roll. They don't spot the ship. Continue approaching. At 2 distance, they are on medium distance. No more modifier for the distance, giving them 4 dice to roll. Again, no successes. They're picking up a distress signal from the debris field from an escape pod, so they're moving in further to investigate. With only 1 combat unit apart, this is short distance. Now they get a bonus of 2 dice. No luck again. At 0 combat units, they would get another 2 bonus die, but they won't need this because the Corsair ship will now start firing at them, getting a surprise round, but being automatically detected. Let's go through the surprise round. The Corsair captain yells, "The fools flew right into our trap. Give them a taste of our iron cannons. Give them a broadside of missiles," and orders the ship to attack. Rolling his 6/7 command skill. And since this is an attack walker, this bonus of 1 is for movement towards the enemy and to all attacks. Now, the engineer distributes the power of the ship. Since they don't really have to maneuver this round, it's a surprise round after all, he gives 1 to the sensor operators so they can act, and the remaining 3 to the gunners. Yes, they have several of them. They also have several sensor operators, but since there's only a single target, they won't be using more than 1. Sensor operator is not the sharpest arrow in the quiver, only has 6 dice. But it's no longer modified by range, only by the signature of the ship, which is 0 in this case. But, ooh, that's nice. 3 successes. That is a target lock of strength 3. Let me get another die to mark that. Let's just use the big die. They have now a target lock of 3, giving 3 extra dice for any weapon attacks. Now, it's the gunners' turns. Even though it's a small ship, they have 2 gunners. One is manning the autocannon and the iron cannons, and the other the iron missiles and the iron torpedo. They're only using iron weapons because they want to take out the ship without destroying it, so they can potentially board it and take it over. My house rules, iron weapons deal no hull damage. Only system damage, lowering the energy of the ship. These gunners are no slouches, these Corsair gunners. 8 dice just for their gunning. 2 dice from their captain. 1 die from the weapon. 3 dice from the target lock. First up, the iron cannon. That is a single success. Potentially dealing 1 damage, but the Fatima's Bounty gets to roll armor against that. No luck. They take a single point of systems damage. Second shot with the iron missiles. That's 1, that's 2, and they spent their extra success to do more damage. They don't actually want to do a critical hit, risking maybe destroying the ship. If you're okay with destroying the enemy ship, critical hits is really the way to go. Depending on your weapon's crit rating, you have to spend 1 or more of your successes to get a roll on the critical ship damage table. You can do that several times if you have the successes to spare and then take the better result, your choice. And something like disabling weapon system or disabling the gravitational projectors is super good if you want to board your target. But like reactor detonation could happen, blowing the ship to bits, leaving you nothing to plunder. But that's another 2 point of systems damage, leaving the Fatima's Bounty with just 2 energy points to spend going into the first regular round of combat. Now, first we determine initiative. For this, both captains roll their command skill, and their highest roll is their initiative. Damn, these Corsairs are super lucky. The Corsairs start with an initiative of 6. Both of the captains are now giving orders. Write them down on a sliver of paper in secret, and only them reveal them at the same time. The captain of the Fatima's Bounty knows that they have to get away. They don't stand a chance in close combat, but he also knows they are really short on energy. So before doing anything, he gives orders to the engineer to do repairs. Bonus to repairing. So let's roll that command skill again. No luck, no extra dice for repairing. The other captain gives orders to attack again. And gets 2 success, gets 1 success, 1 extra die for attacking. Now, the engineers distribute the energy. The pirates are quite happy with the energy distribution. Actually, since they have a very strong lock already, they're going to go in all guns blazing this round. While the Fatima's Bounty gives 1 energy to the sensor operator to break the lock, let's put that down here, and 1 to their gunners to return fire. The engineer is also trying to overload the reactor, doing hull damage, 1 hull damage. For each 6 they roll, they can distribute an additional point of energy. 1 6. And they give 1 more energy to the sensor operator to hopefully break the sensor lock. Now, the engineers can also roll for repairs. Repair systems damage or hull damage, as long as they have spare parts and a bit of time. Even in the middle of battle. Let's see how well that went. That's amazing, actually. They repair 3 points of system damage, but that will only come into effect next round. Pilots of both ships don't have anything to do this round. Sensor operators, the pirate one doesn't have any energy. The sensor operators of the Fatima's Bounty tries to lower the target lock, break the lock. They have 6 dice for this, plus 1 for the extra energy spent, but for the strength of the lock it's -3. They only need a single success to break the lock. No such luck this time. It's the pirates' turn again. Each weapon needs a point of energy, and the additional point of energy gives an extra dice. So, iron cannon up first. That's 8 for the gunner, 1 for the gun, 1 for the extra energy, 3 for the target lock. Yep, that's a lot of die. It's 1, 2, 3. Let's roll armor against that. No such luck. That's 3 points of system damage, lowering it back to 1. The other shot, same modifiers, making it rather easy. That's 1. That's 2. Rolling armor against it. No such luck. The Fatima's bounty is reduced to 0, actually 0 energy, and is now adrift in space until it can be repaired. While the pirates move in to start a boarding action. But they might be surprised by how tough the crew of the Fatima's bounty is. But it's kind of a lame example. Let's roll back time a bit. Let's say the pirates whiffed their shots this rounds. At least one of them, leaving the Fatima's bounty at 2 energy. New round. Captain gives the orders. Hidden. Pirates will once again attack, but the Fatima's bounty tries to run. Rolling command. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 additional dice for the running. And the Corsair captain rolls for command. That's no successes. So 4 additional dice for running. To be even able to run though, the engineer prays to the icons that they will be able to overload the reactor. 1, 2 successes. That was down here, and they distribute all of the energy to the pilot. Now it's the pilot's turn. Pilot used to be a fighter pilot, a real ace, with 8 dice, but 4 extra dice from the commander. You need 3 energy just to move the ship, so you get +1 from the additional energy, and -1 from the bad maneuvering stat of the Fatima's bounty. It's still a lot of die. It's 1, 2, 3, I think I snipped that over. That's 4, that's still 4 combat units. 1, 2, 3, 4, bring them back into long range. Completely taking the pirates by surprise by this sudden burst of speed. The pirates have all the energy for their gunners, but only the torpedo tubes, the iron torpedoes, actually have long range to try and hit that. So they take all of their energy and effort to that 1 torpedo that they can shoot. It's 3 extra dice for a torpedo, 3 for the strong target lock. It's 1, 2, 3 successes. Torpedo is in the air, but the torpedo only moves 2 combat units each turn. Don't forget, the engineer can still try to repair some of that damage, which will be very important right now. 1 success, 3 energy, finally. Also, they overloaded the reactor a second time, 4 hull left. New round of combat. Captain gives the orders. Hidden once again. Fatima's bounty gives orders to retreat once again. No successes. The pirate captain gives orders to attack once again. 1 success. Now comes the energy distribution. Fatima's bounty needs 3 energy just for the pilot, just to continue being able to maneuver. While the engineer from the Corsair gives 2 energy to their pilot, 1 energy to their sensor operator, and 1 to the gunner. But really, since they already have a strong target lock, giving 2 to the gunner is not a bad idea. Or maybe 1 more to the pilot. Yeah, why not? The Fatima's bounty engineer keeps pushing the reactor. Another roll, trying to get more energy out of it. No luck this turn. Now, both pilots roll to pursue. Ace pilot of the Fatima's bounty, no extra energy, but minus maneuverability of the ship. No command rolls either. 2, 3 successes. The Traveler is with them. But the other pilot is no slouch, and their ship is far more maneuverable. So, 3 successes against 8 die, 10 die, 1 die for the extra energy. That's 2 successes as well. So while the distance increases to extreme, the torpedo also draws closer. It's the gunner's turn. It's now even beyond the range of their torpedoes. This is extreme range. So they can't do jack shit. New round. Up to the captains again. Orders to retreat. 1, 2 successes. Orders to attack. No such luck. I forgot the engineer can try to repair last round. Let's roll that up real quick. 1, 2 successes. Getting them back up to full power. So, now they can distribute a fair number of points. 3 for the pilot, but also for the sensor operator and the gunner, because there's still a torpedo incoming. While the pirates pursue with 4 to the pilot. Now the engineer once more tries to push the engine. He'd rather burn it out than lose the ship to the pirates. It's 1, 2 extra points of energy to distribute. He thinks the pilot will most likely be okay, but 1 additional die can't hurt, and also the sensor operators, because they are not that good. Pilot's turn. 2, 8, +1, -1 for maneuverability, +2 for the orders, I believe. That's just 1 success. Against the other pilot, it's got 1, 2, 7, +1 for maneuverability, +2 for the power. Also 1 success. The distance between the ship doesn't change, but the torpedo is incoming. The sensor operator tries their damn best to lock onto that torpedo. 2 successes. Now they have a target lock on the torpedo. That means that the gunner of the Fatima's bounty finally gets to use their skills with 2 extra die, 1 more for the weapon, to try to shoot down the torpedo. And a single success would be enough to shoot this torpedo down. As it now stands, the fight has turned into a chase. Can the Fatima's bounty outrun the smaller Corsair ship? And how far do the Corsairs dare to pursue the Fatima's bounty, fearing that they might run into a patrol craft?
As I said, this is just a small example, one very limited scenario of ship combat. There are so many more tactical possibilities to cover, but that would really go beyond the scope of a single video unless I do it over several hours. But making this video, I realized that even though the Coriolis combat system is pretty solid, there is room to improve. Especially the die pool system is a bit slow for my taste. I think it's about time I try writing my own rules again, write my own sci-fi system. I certainly already have the setting in place in my Solar Cloud series of books. Well, I see, that's another project for the future. For now, I bid thee farewell, dreamers, until we shall meet again.